All right, Jason Rona back here at the INS season opener here, SDRC Raceway, San Diego, California, with Tyler Hooks from Team Tekin. And Tekin's, of course, one of our sponsors this year on the INS and the NCTS. But Tyler, we're doing some sponsor highlights here for the different companies supporting the series. And earlier we kind of went over a couple of your vehicles. You're running 3 classes this weekend. You got a full assortment, between the servo, the battery, which is the new product, motor, speed control. Let's talk a little bit about Tekin here, and we'll start up with the servo. We talked about earlier that it's all digital setup, and what's new going on in the servo side of things.
So we've got at least here for 10 scale racing, we've got the T120 and the T180. Generally, most of these brands have a torque option and a speed option. So our T120 is our speed shorty servo, and our T180 is our torque shorty servo. So I'm using both of those. I use the T120 in my 2-wheel drive cars, whether it's for off-road or oval, and the T180 in my 4-wheel drive cars. And yeah, it doesn't have a potentiometer. It's all digital. It's really precise, and we have some really cool adjustment options with our hot wire computer setup, where you can go in and change the sensitivity of the servo, which is something I play with actually quite a bit, trying to get the feeling correct, just for me personally. And it's something that everybody can kind of play with. Instead of maybe turning down your servo speed on your radio, you can actually do it maybe the more correct way in the servo itself. So
we're moving back in the car, as we're looking at it from the top down, but we got the speed control in there. You said this was the latest version. Talk to us about the speed control setup, and we went over earlier how you're making the adjustments. You got a Wi-Fi option, all these type of things. So so go into that.
Yeah, so for the stock classes, we run the Rsx Pro Black Edition. That's the stock speed control, and we have all new software in the last maybe month or so for stock racing. We call it version 291. It's out and released for everybody to use, and it's really nice. It's got the most power that I've had for stock racing. Obviously, it's still in blinky mode, but we actually have a button in our hotwire, whether you're using the Bluetooth option or the computer option, where you can click a button and it optimizes the settings for spec racing. So, adding all the torque that you can add, doing all the things that you can add without adding any timing or boost, so that obviously it's still legal. So it's really nice to be able to just kind of go in there, click a button, get the most amount of power you can, and then obviously you can tune using other things like drive frequency and torque settings and blah blah blah. But yeah, that setting itself makes it really nice. And then for our modified vehicles, we use the Rsx Pro. Just a little bit more capability for those lower turn motors, modified racing classes, whether it's 2-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive. And yeah, that's pretty much the assortment, at least for 10 scale racing.
So, move back again, we got the new product from Tekin, which is the new batteries, the power cell stuff. So go into talking about the options with the batteries. I know you went 1, 2, 3, 4S options, but what's special about the power cells? And I noticed that stood out to me in your car as being something new I hadn't seen before.
Yeah, so with the power cell thing, we wanted to give our drivers the ability to run the full Tekin package as far as electronics. So the only thing that we were missing for a long time was the batteries. So they're high quality LIHV packs, 1S through 4S. We have I want to say one 1S pack, a couple of 2S packs, 2 shorties, 1 stick pack, and then we have a 4S brick pack option. So just something, 1 or 2 things for everybody pretty much. But yeah, high quality packs, good C ratings. They've been really consistent for me in all the testing that I've done in 2S and 4S configurations, and I run them in all my cars.
Yeah, I mean, in this weekend you are running 17.5, the 2-wheel drive class, and obviously one of the biggest classes at a lot of our events here. But you are running the battery, you are running the speed control, the motor, 17.5 motor combination. So obviously you're up to speed. You got a 3rd in round 1. You're running really well. The power was there. I mean, I was watching the qualifier. We have some really hot drivers running in that class right now, like Tom Rinnernick, Brendan Schimmel. I mean, these guys are top 17.5 drivers, but also really good modified drivers when they jump in that class. And I mean, you're right there running with them, so the power was there. Let's talk about the 17.5 motors a little bit. This is a thing that, there's a lot of options out there, a lot of different combinations. an area that you're kind of wanting to get to push a little bit more here in the 10 scale community, which is the 17.5 motor. So go into talking about what's different about the Tekin motor itself, and what people can expect if they're getting on board with Tekin.
Yeah, so that's kind of the thing that the stigma, if you will, that we're trying to break, is that we're just an 8 scale company at this point or whatever. We have these full lines of 10 scale products, including our Spec R motors, which are one of our newer releases is the Gen 4 Spec R for 17.5, 13.5, and then the other stock class options for the on-road guys all the way down to, I believe, a 6.5. And yeah, it's one of those things where there just haven't been a whole lot of guys running super competitively in the stock classes with Tekin products in a while. So for some reason, it's just one of those stigmas where people just don't think of us as having the hot product. But like you said, like when I go out there, I don't feel like I'm at a disadvantage at all with my motor, my speed control, battery, servo, and all that stuff. So I've been really happy with the Spec R stuff. People forget, I mean, it was 4 years ago, but with the previous generation of motor, the Gen 3 Spec R, I was able to get a Roar National title in 13.5 four-wheel drive. So, the stuff's been fast and competitive for a while, and this Gen 4 stuff's just better than the previous option was, period. So, yeah, it's one of those things that, at least for stock racing, like, we're on pace, our stuff's fast, and it's reliable.
And I mean, I think that's kind of a big point, is obviously you have ran a bunch of races in the past with the Tekin equipment. You've won races in these spec level classes. The equipment is working. I mean, here this weekend, are you participating in any of the, what's your charging technique like for your batteries? I know that's a big topic with the drivers and things that they do, but what are you using? And obviously you're competitive right there with them, and what are you using on your charging, discharging methods? So
I'm pretty basic. I'm primarily at this point in my career just an 8 scale guy. So coming to do these races and supporting J Concepts, and that's why Tekin wanted to support the series as well. It's like, hey, if you're going to be at these events, we want you to be competitive, and so let's support the series as well. So that's kind of why Tekin reached out. But yeah, I'm pretty basic. I don't have any aspirations to burn batteries down or do anything crazy. So I charge my batteries at 20 amps. I don't discharge them. I don't do any of the heating or cooling of the battery, anything crazy like that. And I think what you're getting at, and what people should be cognizant of if you're at home, is just have a good time in the stock classes. Like, you don't need to 40 amp charge and 40 amp discharge to be fast. Like my stuff, like you said, I got a third in the first round, 20 amp charge, no discharge, no crazy battery stuff, motor stuff. Everything is perfectly Roar legal. It all basically straight out of the package, and it's plenty competitive.
So let's talk a little bit of drag racing. I know that's sort of a a genre right now. It's hot. It's hot with the electronic manufacturers. Tekin's been involved kind of every step of the way, in the drag racing, as well as we've been doing it a long time at J Concepts now. But Tekin's kind of got involved in that class. And what are some updates and maybe some software things that you can talk to us about that is going on for the drag racing world?
Yeah, so people have been flipping back and forth between our Rsx Pro Black Edition speed control and our RX8 speed control for the drag racing stuff. The Rsx Pro Black Edition gave guys the ability to run pretty low turn motors, fully censored, and get as much power out of them as they possibly could. But it's a pretty small package, and like we've talked about with all of these brands, everybody's kind of starting to tell people, hey, if you do these really long burnouts or you run back to back to back multiple times, it's really hard on your speed control. So we actually just released a software this week, version 295, I believe, where you can actually use an RX8, which is our 8 scale speed control, fully censored for the first time for the drag racing guys. And it's giving them the opportunity to kind of further their setups and tunes with, instead of having to run a 2-turn motor or 2.5 turn motor, they can run a 3-turn or 3.5, fully censored, get just as much power, be even faster at times. And guys are really liking the results that they're seeing. So they have all the tuning capabilities that any other brand has, and it's just trying to make it easier on these guys.
All right, Tyler. Well, thanks for joining us here, and of course, thanks to Tekin for coming on as a sponsor this year. I want to kind of touch base at these events and kind of see what's the latest stuff. And that's what everyone asks us when we do these things: is what's the latest, what's new, what's cool, what's going on in the pits. And thanks for the the information here. And good luck on the track this weekend. And we appreciate you being here.
Yeah, and thank you to J Concepts for allowing Tekin to support the series, and look forward to being at every event.